Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hue Virtual Chat. And it is 1 year. 1 year ago that we decided to do this whole virtual thing and be connected in some way, shape, or form. It was our first lockdown. We did not know what to expect. And it is so good to see all these faces. Okay, Nicole, you need to turn yourself. This is the beauty of it. Okay, there you go. And we can do that now because, we'd be talking and people would just be going, why? I have to tilt my head to look like that. No. Oh, my goodness. And Cynthia, love to see you again. And Kirsten, the three musketeers, 1/3. We're just waiting for the other two. I know Charlotte has to leave, but there's more jumping on the call, but you can unmute yourselves anyways. And and I'm going to go with you, Kirsten, because you know what? I always sometimes tend, and it's not anybody's fault, but I'm going to let you. We're going to start with you. And this whole year has been, year, and now we're almost 1/3 into the next. But it's really, I was just before coming or going on air, that's what I like to say, just thinking about all the different conversations and all the different women and a few men have joined, and it is so amazing because otherwise we probably would have never met. Correct?
Oh, I completely agree. And like you, Tracy, I was kind of pondering that we're almost at 60 shows and it's been a year, and thinking about when this started and when you came up with this idea and put this forth and it started, that it was at that time, it was just kind of a lifeline to some normalcy and connection that was so needed. And then it kind of grew into its own, and it just became a community of amazing women that I got to see and connect with on a regular basis. And it wasn't so much about getting through those really, really kind of dark, uncertain days, but it kind of morphed into something that it was into what it is now, which I think is an amazing group of supportive females that are making change in our community. And it's really an honor and a privilege to be connected and share space with them. So that's what I was thinking about before I came on.
Well, and it's interesting to see how personalities have come out of all this. Hi, Charlotte. I know you have to go, but I want to quickly, okay, Cynthia, just meeting you, and that will be a good segue to Nicole, and I'm so glad Nicole is on this too as well. That's how we connected, but
Yes.
Even with yourself and knowing you for now a year, you have changed so much, and you have brought so much, I think, into all of our lives, and made us, not only rethink our beliefs, but also help us to understand and accept. So for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been an amazing journey. I think the biggest aspect has been, while I appreciate that all of you may have experienced that, I'm also going through the transformation and the growth and learning from the experience, which just deepens my ability to help and work with others through the process. So yeah, it's pretty magical.
Well,
all thanks to Nicole.
Yes, I know. No, I'll put you on the spot, Nicole.
Just a little. Oh my goodness. No. You know what? I'm a firm believer that if things are supposed to happen, if things are meant to happen, they do. And sometimes it's just finding ways in which to connect all those dots, and sometimes there's just that one person who gets in there and says, hey, did you know so and so, and did you know so and so, and then it just moves from there. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of connecting all those dots. So,
yeah, I know.
But it's great to see you, Cynthia. Oh my goodness, I've been following you on Instagram and Facebook, and it's just been wonderful to watch your journey. So it's great to see you.
Well,
thank you, Tracy, for having me.
Oh no, and I'm going to come back to you because one of the very, I think our second show, I brought in all these different foundations because those were so dear to our hearts too as well. And so we're going to come back because now there's some more things that have grown with the Deer Lodge, you know, and I want you to share those. But I know, Charlotte, you have to leave, so I wanted to get your thoughts on a whole year, girl. And more. I don't want to say it because I love this, but I don't know. Well, maybe we'll be looking at 2022. I don't know. Anyways.
You know, it's funny. I talk about it being the longest timeout I've ever had in my life, but it sure has made us all think and what's important, and you know, those kind of things have been such a good part of this year. I'm trying to find all the good, like using a piece from Kirsten, you know, always looking for the good. But yeah, like, so it's just been a little nutty in my world, because one of the things that came out strong was that my family likes being out at the lake more than they like being in the city. So my big switch for 2022 is bigger cottage, smaller house. So my house just put a sign up in the front lawn about an hour ago, and I am having to declutter it quickly.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
So big.
Yeah, well, nobody's using this house anymore, so it's sitting pretty much vacant. And
well, maybe it could be an office space for you know, live your truth, because I know that Robyn has just popped into the conversation, and I mean, we're just, so it's all about it being a year. And I want to say to the three musketeers here, I think I'm not quite, but I'm almost an expert now on mental health. Or at least I have some really good quotes from a few people that I know. So, but yeah, I was looking back at our very first show, and it was, you know, the surrounding theme was just the unknown, and everybody a little on edge, but then so excited to be connected like this. And, you know, thank you, Robyn, you know, definitely all of your wisdom. And it is wisdom. I will let you know it is wisdom, even though you sometimes think that you're ranting and going off. But no. I can fizzle out, or, you know, like what they call shift out the little bits and nuggets of truth. And they really are very helpful. And I think the people, the ladies that have joined on Facebook Live, and everybody else that listens to the podcast, I mean, there's certainly been a lot of great information. And I want to say hi to Susan. Hi, welcome. I know you're the newbie, you're the new kid on the block, but you know what? You're going to bring, I think, your own personality and everything like that to this show that I think I've really seen a bond. And I just mentioned before, in case for some of the new people that dropped in, I've just really seen a growth in personalities. You know, and it's something about being, I guess, maybe just relaxed in your own home and not on set with lights and everything around, that the conversation is a lot more intimate, truthful, hard, but those are the things that we want to have, because we just don't get enough of that on an everyday kind of situation. So I'm going to go to Robyn. I know you may have not been on the very, very first episode, but it has been a year, so to speak.
Yeah, it has. I mean, do you just want me to say something about the year, or do you have a particular question, my friend?
Well, no, you know me. I'm kind of like wishy-washy, and then you kind of go, I think I answered your question, but I don't know. So, the year.
The year, wow. The last year, I would say, with everything that occurred, not just COVID, I think is probably the hardest year of my life ever. But I think it's allowed me to grow in different ways. I do have to say, I've been living in Winnipeg longer than I've lived anywhere for, I don't know, a very long time. And so occasionally I get super antsy about that. And I do have to say, I was just reading something where Australia and New Zealand are opening up their borders to each other. And they're gonna, as of next week, those living in Australia can travel back and forth and vice versa. And I must say, I went, what the am I doing living here? Like, why am I here? I can't go anywhere, do anything. And then I went, I'm here because I love Canada. I love the people. I love what I do. And you know, next year I'll probably go home for a couple of months and still work from there. As Charlotte said, very odd hours, but there's something special about Canada and Canadians that is like, and Winnipeg is like this cool community. Or maybe it's just Manitoba, I don't know. I'm looking at moving to the Interlake to be close to the water. But I think the last year has taught us that we can get through hard stuff if we take it moment by moment, and even though it's tough and we don't know what the future looks like, right? Even with this new discussion about the variant in Japan that they don't think the vaccine's going to work on. I just heard something about that yesterday, Tracy, and I was like, we don't know what the future holds, but if we can just take step by step and be together in the journey, we have a better shot. And I've been living alone this whole time, right? Yes, I've got to bubble with the person that I date, but you know, I only see them once a week. So that's been a learning curve too, because I'm a people person. And I think some people are getting a bit zoomed out, but on the whole, I think this last year is showing people's resilience and strength and flexibility and community.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And that's part of the, I guess, part of the job though too of all of this Zoom stuff. It does have its downside too as well. But for now, this is what we can do. And I know, like, every week I kind of leave a little bit more positive after our conversations, and I think that's what's really helped through this incredible, whatever you want to call it, year, and spilling into 2021. But I'm going to go to Susan now too. I mean, doesn't matter. I mean, 2020, okay, we want to just put it into the past. How do we now like shift into 2021? And like we said, we've got variants, we've got vaccines, but will we be safe? So many things, right, Susan?
That's a loaded question.
Just for you.
Thanks so much for that one. I appreciate that, Tracy. Will we be safe? I would say one of the things that I've learned over the past year is to constantly pivot and to ride that wave that comes our way, and know that we can pull from our skills and our experience and from each other. We don't really know what the future is going to look like. We know that it will not look like the past. I can't imagine us going back to what used to be normal. It's a new normal, and it's constantly evolving. And so I think moving forward, been working a lot recently on studying grit, perseverance, studying purpose. What are people looking for when they're looking at the great pivot in their own lives, and how do they embrace the moment, but also gravitate towards the things that make them really happy, no matter how big or small. And how can they move forward in that? So it's interesting to see that we just don't really know, but if we have that sort of guiding compass of this brings meaning to my life, this is aligned with the purpose that makes me passionate to keep going, even if I'm switching gears along the way, then we can keep going. And when things come our way that suddenly are different, well, we still have that guiding light for us that we can gravitate towards, and just know that we can pivot and we can change and we can learn stuff. I think one of the key things is to have that mindset of knowing that whatever comes our way, we can learn. to do something different. We can learn to develop a new skill. We can learn to speak on Zoom. We can learn to host on Zoom and write
Yes.
that and everything else. So, yeah, I think that I think we'll work with it as it comes. So I'm positive on that one.
Well, some more great words of wisdom. And I want to say hi to Jenny. There you go. So happy to see you. And you might be on mute, Jenny.
Yeah.
There
Yes.
you go.
Thanks, Tracy. I'm happy to see you. And I just want to say congratulations on the 60th episode. That is amazing. Way to go.
Well, according to, there was a little mix-up. The 60th show is going to be next week, so you're going to have to come back next week. But this is our anniversary day. A year ago. So, I mean, there's all sorts of things. I know. So, not my fault.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah. I'm just going to blame it on my tech guy that can't count. So, hey, that's
Okay.
but it's all good to see you. I'll come back to you, Jenny, in a minute. But I wanted to mention that. So, going back, when we were in all this lockdown, it was right in the middle of a lot of fundraising for organizations, especially gala balls for foundations, and everything came to a halt. So I'm going to go to Nicole, who is the executive director for the Deer Lodge Center Foundation, and I've got a fond spot, of course, for DLC, but you know what, Nicole, things are like Susan was saying, you pivot, right? And you move forward. So I just want you to let you have the stage to mention all the wonderful things that are happening at Deer Lodge.
Well, thank you, Tracy, and congratulations on 60 episodes. Whenever that
I know.
is, this week or next week, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yay! I think that's fantastic, and it's been wonderful to be in and out throughout the year. So thank you for that. Yes, wow, Deer Lodge Foundation. We've had a lot of changes over the last 2 years since I've been here, and in particular the last year. How do we do this? As a small foundation, we're not many people, it's just 2 staff, and we have a lot of volunteers, and that volunteer base has been growing. People like yourself, Tracy, who have been part of different committees. We did have a spectacular event we were going to host here in recognition of the 75th anniversary of the end of the Second World War, which was in 2020. That didn't happen, of course, and we tried different ways to maybe have people on the front lawn in cohorts and all that, and it just did not work in order to keep everyone safe. So we've put that one on hold, but we're still looking forward to holding that event, likely 2022, depending on all these variants, but that will still go forward, but hopefully likely in the summer of 2022. So that will be something to look forward to. But in the meantime, we've come up with different ways to fundraise, including last year we did 1,000 thank yous in order to recognize the 75th anniversary. This year we're going to change that and call it Funding the Future, because Deer Lodge has been here for over 100 years, and it's managed to evolve as the needs have demanded. And Cynthia is one of those prime examples. It went from just being a veterans hospital, caring for those from the First World War, Second World War, Korean War, and then it's evolved into the community and how is it can best serve the community. So you talk about pivoting. Well, this organization has been pivoting for over 100 years. And so it's just wonderful to be part of that. And so we've been able to address some of those needs from dementia, which has now become one of the biggest things that is in need and to help those in the community. People who have now been at home are now recognizing that a lot of their loved ones are afflicted with this. So Funding the Future will be a part of that. It will be fundraising for those kinds of projects. In addition to that, bariatrics. We are looking at 12 patients that live here, residents that live here who live with bariatric conditions. That's for people who are struggling with over 100 pounds of excess weight. And it's a disease. So how is it that we can help them? So we're providing them with equipment, chronic care, long-term care. And then of course, people like Cynthia who have used the speech language pathology services and that are also able to, so we're looking at fundraising for equipment for those areas as well. So we're pivoting and we are learning different ways. Online. So we're about to launch our online 50/50. Woohoo!
Yay.
I'm so excited. It's been a lot of work, but lots of fun. And so this week we will be launching it. I don't have the exact date because we're still working out a few little glitches as technology can be so wonderful and yet so stressful all at the same time. And so we're launching it this week. So hopefully we'll be able to make that announcement in the next few days and people can then participate that way. We'll have 4 draws throughout the course of the year and the funds will go towards funding the future.
Oh my goodness.
So a lot on the go, and the golf tournament is being held in July. So lots and lots on the go. We went from a complete halt in a year ago where it's like, so now what do we do to, oh my goodness, there's not enough hours in the day for me to address everything. So it's exciting.
Oh no, it truly is. And I mean, it's a sign of the times. And I just want to say the 50/50 has been incredible for foundations. There's so many of them going on, and and it's what a better way to raise funds where you're not in contact with anybody and people love it. And so congratulations. Can hardly wait till the golf tournament.
Yeah, you can see people. It'll all be COVID safe, of course.
Yeah.
But lots on the go. And people have become far more comfortable purchasing online, making donations online, and I think that's what's made a big difference. So this is a little bit, although scary, because Deer Lodge Foundation has never done anything like this before. So we are a little apprehensive, and we're relying on a lot of people to tell everyone that we are doing this, social media, of course, but we're relying on a lot of our volunteers and the people who are involved with us to share the word. But people are becoming more comfortable with that online experience. So we're counting on that and raising some funds, much needed funds for that, through that.
Well, see what a difference a year can make, right?
I know.
And
I went from not being busy to being, oh my God, I'm too busy. I don't know what I'm going to do first.
well, you might have to hire somebody then.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'm going to go now to Jenny. And Jenny, you know what? This year too, for you, a lot of pivoting, a lot of, just new Jenny B coming out.
Yes, you know what? Absolutely, Tracy. Lots of pivoting, and I had to move my Zumba classes online, which in itself was a huge feat because I know some tech, but I'm not. There I am. Sorry, I know some tech, but I'm not super techie, and so I didn't know what to do, and so I hired a guy to help me with my setup. So I'm teaching online. It's going well. I'm really enjoying it. Looking at going back and doing in-person classes in a couple of weeks. So that's going to be a little different. Of course, COVID safe.
Yes. Yeah.
But I've got some exciting news that my podcast, Coffee with Jenny B, is launching April 24th.
Yay!
Yay.
So,
yes, that's right. I'm so excited.
Does the title say it all? I know some information, but you need to share with your growing audience.
Okay, so Coffee with Jenny B started when I was turning 60. So 2019, I was turning 60 at the end of that year. And so I wanted to do something to celebrate my birthday. And I didn't want to party. I didn't want to go on a trip. And I thought, what could I do that was special for me? And the idea just popped in my head, 60 days of 60 coffees. And so every day leading up to my birthday, I visited a different coffee shop and had coffee. And when I started posting on Instagram, I just did it for myself. I didn't do it for any other reason. And when I first started posting, it was, I wrote a little bit about where I was, but then as the days progressed, my posts got longer and longer and longer because I started really looking into, okay, who owns the cafe or the coffee house? You know, what kind of coffee, where do they get the coffee from? Why are they doing this? And just a little bit about, you know, do they give back to the community? What else do they offer? And really deep diving into knowing more about the coffee scene in Winnipeg. And as I was doing that, I discovered that we have such a vibrant coffee scene. Now, this was before 2020, before COVID. But what's interesting is during COVID and now 2021, we have so many new coffee shops, so many new cafes, coffee roasters, and they are it just blooming in Winnipeg, and it's just amazing. And I love the fact that we have so much variety and so many local people to support, and that's what it is supporting local.
Wow. So, I mean, you're going to have to introduce us to all of these new places, because I think anybody that, you know, can open up a business during all of this is like, kudos to you. That's amazing. But it's like all of, you know, as much as the pandemic has separated us from our family and loved ones, it has brought a sense of closeness with other things and brought to light new things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know. So let's continue this conversation. I'm going to go to Cynthia, because Cynthia, yes, I've been seeing some of your amazing Instagram tags and your LinkedIn, and I am like very, very intrigued by these podcasts too, and other events that you're holding. So like fill us in on all of this new stuff.
Well, you know, it's if you hang on it long enough, you get some success. So the reality is that I've been very fortunate to really have an uptick in people being interested in either having me as a guest on podcasts and so forth. I got invited to join a podcasting community. And so I have a registered profile as a guest. So somebody's looking for kind of the areas that I speak to, we can do that. But I've also, you probably had seen some of the more recent posts. I've had corporate clients, people, little companies, you know, like LinkedIn, who hired me to do an educational work with their staff. And it was actually the LinkedIn Austria who oversaw it for the EMEA. So Europe, Middle East, and Africa nation.
Wow.
And so I was able to present there. Yeah, and of course that means there's other LinkedIn groups. So you kind of get known within a community, and to deal with it, you know, I must admit, I actually I'm teaching another session tonight. I created a brand new session called Transgender Sex 101 for sex positive communities. And I've actually already had demand to hold it again. I ran it last week in conjunction with a group that I'm affiliated with, KK. I've become a community manager, a volunteer community manager. So I do that. And now I'm holding it again tonight for the community here in the UK. And I was just asked today if I would consider doing it for an American or US, North American audience. But that would probably be about 1 a.m. my time to be about 8 p.m. their time. So it's just a matter of managing time zones to do that. And I've got 2 other pending requests that have come in, one out of Montreal, out of the blue, and another one out of the Czech Republic, who's asked me to speak on tech and transition. So yeah, so absolutely, you know, just enjoying hearing that. Plus I'm also, you know, getting used to some of these audio social networks, such as Clubhouse, another one that I've been long affiliated with, Quilt, where, I mean, I still run a weekly support group for those that have anxiety and depression on, you know, those platforms. And so the work there, I've got someone that's really interested in the work that I've been doing, wants to highlight me within the Clubhouse community, a brand new space for me. So we've got that. I think Wednesday night, I'm hosting or co-hosting my first Clubhouse event. So just keep going, you know, all around. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, and it's just nice to see some success come from it, you know, while we continue to get settled here in the UK.
My goodness. Oh, so congratulations. My thinking, and you know, everybody chime in on this. So is it possible that due to a pandemic and forced to go onto social media and forced to do stuff like this, like Cynthia, you could, if nothing had changed, would you be where you are today?
I don't know where I would have been. You know, I would have seen a lot more of the world
Yes.
if nothing had changed. But you know, that's a trade-off that was meant to be, right? It's not a matter of, you know, oh geez, I wish I could have, right? Like you have to let go of that. And, you know, I think you know, that idea of you have to live in the moment. You know, one of the lessons that I learned was there's today problems and tomorrow problems. And I only deal with today problems because that's all I have the capacity to do. And I'll worry about tomorrow in the future. And it doesn't mean that you don't say, think about, you know, finances and other, you know, parts of life. But the fact is, it doesn't change anything in this moment. So I'm going to focus on the here and now. And then I'll kind of, so, you know, that's just part of the growth that you learn as we go through something, you know, like lockdowns, like the pandemic, like the last year. And you're right, it's not over, but hopefully life is changing and we go to a better normal, not the old normal. We need to go to a better normal going forward.
Oh, yes. Well, you know what? Again, you are a firecracker, and you know, I think every time you're on, it's just like, wow. So happy for you. And so hello to Miss Susie. Susie, you missed, oh my goodness, Cynthia was giving us a rundown of all of her guest appearances and everywhere.
Our
It's like
London correspondent was on and I missed it. Oh, sorry, Cynthia.
She wasn't talking about London, though. She's talking about everywhere that she's going as a guest speaker. So
She's our, oh, that's awesome. She's our worldwide correspondent, even better.
I know, yes. So congratulations. You've been on this roller coaster ride with me since the get-go, you and Rana, and well, here we are a year later.
It's wild, isn't it, when you think about it?
Yeah, no, and everything. So for you, I know it's been, I mean, we're still in it, but it's different. It's definitely different. But for you, I mean, there was some dark days for you too, right? And days
Oh,
where
for sure.
it was hard to get through.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, I think that we all have to be okay with admitting that there were some really bad days and some really dark days. And, you know, like, that's hard to be vulnerable and to admit that. But I mean, at the same time, how could we not have, you know, like this is unprecedented in our lifetime. And everything that we've experienced over this past year has been a lesson in you don't know what's going to happen. And you can plan as much as you want, but your plans may still go out the window. And that means that you still have to adapt. And you know what? The last week, this phrase has been kind of ringing in my ear, and it's the phrase that is just simple. I'm struggling. And I think that there are a lot of people who are feeling that, but who are afraid to say that, even to themselves, never mind out loud. But yeah, like that simple phrase, I'm struggling, says so much. And it can be about so many things. It can be about this pandemic. It can be about work. It can be about your kids in school. It could be about any number of things. But I think it is so important to just give yourself that grace and that ability to say that I am not okay, and that's okay. But I need to talk about how I'm not okay.
Mm-hmm. No, that's so true. We have, again, another little nugget from Robyn. So Robyn, I want you to share it. You've shared in our chat, but with everybody else there. And I am curious, how to be passionately curious about how people are truly feeling. So like, and that's a great spill off on what Susie just said, for yourself to say I'm struggling, but as a friend or as a other person, how do we connect to that? How do we react to that too?
I think one of the things is people are often scared about asking truly how people are feeling because they're scared about what people are going to say. what if they say I'm struggling? What if they say I feel like killing myself? What if they say those things? And I think for me, when I talk about being passionately curious, and I remember talking about it once really early on in the show, that we don't want to be like, and this is not an affront to grocery store people, right? But they go, how are you? And if you go, not good, they're like, oh, that'll be, and they're pushing the groceries, that'll be like $10.21, thanks, because they don't know what to say. And I think for me, when I talk about being passionately curious, it's being able to sit with our discomfort when someone says, I'm struggling or things aren't going well. And I think when Susie talked about the piece about, like, can we, like, just say we're struggling, the piece for me is just asking people what that means to them. Because struggling, as Susie was saying, can be a whole range of things. And I think if we're passionately curious, we offer people the opportunity of explaining what that is. So, you know, if someone says, I'm depressed, well, depression looks different in everyone. So my automatic is, what does that mean to you, or what does that look like for you? Because that opens up a really different conversation. And so I think when we often don't ask the questions because we're uncomfortable. And it's if we can sit in our uncomfortability, I keep making up these weird words, and actually just really want to know what's happening for people. Sometimes it's just bearing witness. Sometimes it's just being there to hear what people have got to say, or validating their feelings that, like, maybe I haven't experienced that, but like, you know, like, yeah, I can see why that would be tough for you, or why it might feel that way, or being in that non-judgmental place. Because, I don't know, I was talking to my mum last night, and like one of my family members is dealing with some stuff at the moment, and my mum's like, I don't know, it's not like that. And I'm like, you can't tell, Mum, you're not in their shoes. And really we want to hear what people are saying, and not already be thinking about our answer. We don't already go in our heads about, well, why would they feel like that? They have a nice house, they have a nice job, they have a nice family. But actually be in there to find out and be curious about what's really happening for people. That's what I meant with that comment about, if we can be passionately curious to truly find out how people are feeling, maybe people will start to talk about how they truly feel, and we won't have people being quiet or holding it in or not expressing when life's so tough, and maybe we'll save lives. That's ultimately what I want. Let's save lives by actually being with people in their distress at times, or their struggle, or whatever it is, but just being with them.
Well, and I guess that'd be interesting, because, Robyn, that really kind of pertains immediately then to the family unit, because that's who we've been living with, and, you know, or the one or two people in your bubble. Because I know that Susie made a comment, and so did Cynthia. So let's talk about that. I mean, how do we be passionately curious with our family members?
Can I say one thing though?
Yeah.
It's not only with our family or the people that we live with or see, it's also people like this on Zoom, or on phone, or on text, or Messenger, or WhatsApp, or whatever way that we connect. I've had amazing conversations via Messenger texting with a kid who wanted to kill themselves, and like 40 minutes of back and forward, just what's happening, like, let's talk. So we can do it in any medium, but I think the who we're living with can probably, I live by myself, so I don't have that issue, right? The dog doesn't ever talk to me.
And probably for good reason.
Yeah, she's like, whatever. But you know, living with other family members, I wonder how that's been over the last year. Do we stop asking the question? Because, yeah, I'm going to be quiet now.
No.
I love what you're saying, Robyn. And I think too, like, so I saw this, I don't know if it was a meme or a post, whatever, that went by, and it was talking about, you know, like when you have teenagers, for example, and they spend all their time in their room, or they're on their devices, or, you know, whatever, they won't even come out of their room for meals or anything. And yeah, that's definitely been, you know, frustrating and a part of our experience too during this all. But at the same time, like, you have to remember what it was like when you were 13, 14, 15. Like, you were a bit of a hermit in your room, and that's like normal teenage behavior, right? So this post was talking about how, you know, like, a great thing to do instead of, as a parent, you know, yelling at the child to come down for dinner or whatever, is like, bring a plate to them, like, meet them where they are. And bring a snack to them, bring a plate to them, you know, sit with them, even if they're playing, you know, and totally ignoring you. You can just sit there. You could fold some laundry in their room, because I'm sure there's some on the floor. You could, you know, you could tidy something, but you're there. You know, you're just there. Even your presence, when you think about, you know, as a teenager, you probably don't remember what your parents did for you, because teenagers are inherently selfish. That's their job, is to be selfish, and they're focused on themselves. But as a parent, you have the adult opportunity to reframe that and to be what you needed in that teenage moment. So if you can meet your child where they are, whether that means bringing them a snack, you know, asking them how they're doing, you know, a drink, something. It doesn't have to be a half hour. It doesn't even have to be 20 minutes, but, you know, just checking in, and those little touch points, I think, are so important. And one of the other things that I saw, I've been spending a lot of time on social media this week, apparently, but it was this great article on Medium talking about how, you know, as we chat with each other, especially over text or even sending emails, one of the most important phrases we can use right now is "no need to respond to this," which I think is so brilliant, because I feel sometimes that when you send something, sometimes there's nothing to say, right? You're just like, oh my gosh, I need to sit with this for a minute. I need to think about this, or I literally am speechless. I have nothing to say to this. So giving somebody that out is so liberating, because it's saying to you, I just want to share this with you, but you don't have to respond to me like right now or even ever. We can talk about it in the future, but I just wanted to bring this to your attention. I wanted you to share in this, you know, experience, digital experience with me, and just understand this point of view or whatever it is. But giving people that out, I think, is so important, because there's so much emotional labor that we're doing right now in this time, that people feel exhausted. And I know some people are taking digital breaks, you know, if they're turning off their phones on the weekend, or they turn off their phones after, you know, work hours, all of those things. Those are super important boundaries to adhere to, not just now, but all the time. And so I think giving someone that language of there's no need to respond to this is so thoughtful and caring, and shows that, you know, you don't take their time for granted, and you don't take their friendship for granted, but you wanted to still share this with them. I hope that makes sense, what I'm saying.
Yes. I was just wondering about that. Okay, so there's some really good things that I want to share with all of our audience out there. So I'm first, Cynthia, I love this. To evolve from a parent to an advisor coach.
Yeah. Again, you know, I've got older children, right? So my son's 27, my daughter's 23. And, you know, there's at a point where you no longer parent them. And it's that, not that you're not there. So as, you know, Susie was sharing that brilliant insight, it was like, yeah, like that's at the moment. And maybe if they're younger, you also need those moments, right? Where you're not parenting, you're not doing the guiding, telling, you know, do this, get that done, etc. Come for dinner now. It's just like, no, here's kind of what I want, and like, you know, what do you want out of this experience? And so you become more of a coach, advisor in that space, and kind of like, where are they trying to go? What do they need? And yeah, I mean, they're just teenagers, but as they become a little older, that relationship change. It's never to become friends. They're your kids, but it is to become that advisor role. And it's about kind of stepping back and allowing them to kind of say, well, this is what I think I want to do, or where I want to go in life, or this is what I want to do or where I want to go in this moment. How do I kind of go from here to there? And to be able to provide that trajectory and really ask the questions, well, that's great. How do you see that happening? When do you see that happening? What are you doing to get there? And be able to offer the advice through the coaching process, allowing them to maybe think through things they haven't thought about in terms of, arriving at that destination. I mean, I remember my son, avid gamer, and at one point he wanted to be a career as a professional gamer before it was really avant-garde as it is today. And realizing, okay, it was never a no. It was like, really no, it was simply, okay, so what does it take to get there? What skills do you need? And realizing that, oh, yeah, no, I don't want to do that, because the commitment and the requirement was more than he was prepared to kind of put in. And so to realize that idea of that dream, well, that's why I'm sitting here gaming right now, because I'm building my professional resume, is more like, no, I'm just having fun because I need to unwind and unplug for a while. And this is my way of doing it. And it's like, okay.
And Cynthia, I love that, because I think it's really, and again, I'm not an expert. I'm just a mom of 3. I don't necessarily have the language to say, in a professional sense, but to me, it's more about intentional parenting, right? And intentional relationships. It doesn't matter what kind of relationship you're in, right? But it's about, the parenting relationship that I grew up with is not the same that I have with my children. It's very different. And, some of those old world things are still there for sure. Like you said, you're not friends with your kids, you're still their parent, but there's so much more back and forth with my kids than my parents ever, even thought to consider, when it came to me and my sister. And I think that is a really a powerful thing, to not poo-poo a child's idea or say, like, you can't do that, or that's ridiculous, But my husband came up with this great phrase. It's like, what are the steps you're taking to do that? And it's just like, oh, like, that's so much more like intentional and then action oriented, right? And it's like, okay, I want to be a professional gamer. Okay, and so how are you going to do that? What are you going to do to get there? And like you said, what's the commitment required? And it's like anything else with a coach, a sport, a hockey, tennis, golf, whatever it is. There has to be an action plan in place, right? And maybe sometimes when they realize all the steps in that action plan, they're just like, maybe not. But they've come to that conclusion, not you forcing that conclusion upon them, right? Which I think is so, so important. And again, it allows them to feel heard, and you are doing your job as a parent by, still guiding them, but giving them parameters for those dreams or those goals to happen, which I think is so important and so empowering and liberating.
Wow.
Hey, I have to jump in there.
Yes.
Sorry, just because, Susie, you are speaking our language. And when we think about families and supporting somebody through recovery, whether they're a teenager, a young adult, or wherever they are at, or a spouse, first of all, to meet somebody where they're at is exactly, it's a successful approach. Second of all, it's so interesting, just your whole language, because this is my thought process and exactly how we work with families. It's not on our agenda. It's not for us to tell another individual, a child, a young adult, what their recovery is going to look like, what the time and the steps are going to be. Who are we to say that we are the experts on their recovery and what their dreams and goals are? So when we can step back and have like those passionately curious conversations about, so if this is your dream, if this is what a life looks like for you in recovery, if this is, what are the steps that you're going to take to get there, instead of saying, well, that is absolutely ridiculous because that's never going to work. And, we can just squash young people's dreams and their whole, we can just be such a hurdle in their recovery and their process of developing into the human that they are wanting to be. And I won't go on about this, but my daughter was out of work, COVID, 20 years old. She had worked for a short time as a server. Those jobs aren't around. And she had put resumes everywhere back in January, February, and nobody's hiring. So she got a couple of calls back from a residential cleaning service. And she was like, Mom, I've had my interview, I've got my job, I'm gonna work full time and I'm gonna clean houses. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I see your room. This is going to be disastrous. But I didn't jump all over it. And, but I'm thinking, this is going to be so hard. It's going to hurt. She's going to fall. It's going to be blow up. It's going to set her back. Anyways, 3 months later, this kid wakes up every day, cleans houses, gives it her absolute all, never complains, actually meets some neat people, works for this neat little company. She has this uniform, and she hasn't missed a day, and she loves it. So who am I to say no, 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 no? You should be standing in this mall folding clothes, wearing nice shoes, because that's going to be only part time, because that's going to be better for you. Talk about lesson learned, because it was on the tip of my tongue. I wanted to jump in there, but I didn't.
I just want to know, is her room clean now?
You know what? Her room is clean. It's not always clean. Today, it is clean. But when she got hired, she was timing herself. And she's like, Mom, can I clean the bathroom? I need to time myself.
Oh, hey. Okay,
So we're
what's the name of that cleaning company? Okay, I'm going to send my son there too, okay? Hopefully you can
Lesson learned. We're always learning, right? I just wanted to share that. Yeah. That's all I'll say.
No, that's so perfect. I want to say hello to Rana. How are you doing? I guess a busy day for you. Yes.
Yeah, Terry was a little busy. How's everyone doing? Hi guys, I love you,
Good.
miss you. And I totally missed the entire conversation, so I apologize. But what I've heard is pretty amazing. And Kristen, you're always so on point.
Well, you should be listening. It's all about parenting, Rana. Those things.
What would I know, right?
Well, hey, you do know a lot, girl, and just sort of want to get your thoughts and feelings.
I have a niece.
Yes, that's your
Right?
baby.
So I'm like a second mom, always.
Yeah, she's like what, 2?
No, about 18 months. Less than
Okay,
18.
almost 2. Yes. So
Almost
the
2.
whole year, or a flashback.
Ugh.
Who would have thought we'd be doing this for a year? I thought,
Yeah, no kidding.
yeah. So, well, and you've done a whole roller coaster yourself. And
Yeah. I definitely I think more of it just an emotional, and I think we've talked about this, a lot throughout this year, just going through the grieving process, and at least having the ability to come online once a week with you guys and have those really and let's just put this on the table. I'm basically as blunt as they come. I really have lost any ability to have a filter these days, which is fine. I'm totally cool with that. But yeah, I think this year's been really positive, and positive in the way that we have all found ways to survive. And this was coming on here has been a way for me to just be able to have very interesting, introspective, really deep, real conversations, which we haven't had those. We were talking about everything from feminism to parenting to COVID to restaurants to everything. And I think that if I could say one thing, I feel like I've learned a lot this year. And I don't know about the rest of you, but don't you feel like you've walked away with so much knowledge and such a different perspective on various things? So on a personal level, yeah, I mean, it's hard. You miss people, you're grieving and all that stuff. And but on a positive level, I think that we have all hopefully found little bits and pieces of joy within our days or in our weeks. And I definitely had that, and, definitely on here. So I definitely appreciate that. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. I really don't know how I feel at this point. I don't see the end, and I think that's causing me a little bit of anxiety. You know what I mean? I know people are getting vaccinated and all that, but it still makes me really nervous. I just don't know when this is gonna really truly end, or if it ever ends. Are we ever gonna be comfortable being in a restaurant together? Are we ever gonna be able to hug each other? Are we ever gonna feel comfortable, even if everything's settled? How much has this really changed us? And I think me and my sister were talking about this last night. I'm a little concerned about, and I know we haven't been silent on this, but I know that there is some silence on the part of maybe legislators and policymakers about what the actual mental health effects will be long term about this. I mean, there's a lot of people who are really struggling, and whether it's because of their finances or whether it's because they're being isolated, being alone, there's going to be some after effects. And I hope that we start to kind of draw some attention to that, not just within our circle, but on the bigger policy, governmental level, legislative level, so we can actually start making some real dollars and supports in those areas, because we're going to need them. We're really going to need them. So yeah, that's my jam for today. Hi.
Hi, I'm Rana.
So can I just jump
Yes.
in and be a little frivolous here? Rana, just marry me. We'll go and live in Australia. We can go to restaurants. We can go to sporting events. We can go to anything. No worries.
So should we just take a trip? Like, should we just all jump on a plane and peace out? Go where we can? I might be down.
I feel silly today. So any one of you that's looking to, get married, want to live in a country where you can do whatever, yell out.
Oh my goodness. Quickly, I want to go to Susan, because you wrote something interesting that you've done with your family that I think is, I'd love you to share it with everybody.
Sure, thanks. One of the things we did, I live with my husband. We both work from home. I have 2 adult daughters who are taking university online, and our bubble person is my daughter's boyfriend, who comes here regularly. So one of the things that we did, because everyone's going through stressful times at all together and at the same time, and sometimes there's a little bit of conflict or we're just misunderstanding each other. But one of the things we did was go through the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman, and everyone took that assessment. And we came together and said, well, here's my top primary love language and my secondary love language, and here's what the rest of them are. And we were quite surprised to find that they weren't exactly how we thought they were. So we have 2 people in our household who have quality time as their primary love language. When you look at it, it's not a surprise. My husband is one of them, and he loves to spend time with me and with other people in the family. And then there's 3 of us who have acts of service as our top love language. So doing things for each other and having little things done for us is a way that we experience and feel love, and that we like to show love for each other. So, for example, I might be busy doing some chore or something around the house, and my husband wants to spend time by relaxing and watching some TV together, going for a walk. Well, we're not looking to do the same thing at the same time, but we're trying to accomplish the same end result, which is, loving each other in different ways. So we've had some really interesting conversations as a family group. How do we express our love for each other and our appreciation, but how do we also like to receive that? What little teeny things can we change that can make a huge difference? And we've just modified a few minor things, and it's made a huge difference. For example, my daughter gets up, she likes to sleep in, now we bring her coffee, because just having someone else bring that coffee to her or make that for her is something that just starts her day off beautifully. My husband and I love to go for a walk, because that's really important to him, to spend regular time together every day. So we do that. And for me, it's sometimes little things like when you leave a room, just pick up something as you go and put it away. Like just these little things is just something I feel grateful for. So for us, it's been a game changer. I would encourage anyone to look that up. It's just, you can look up the 5 love languages. But because we're all here together every day, 24/7, trying to get through all of our stuff that comes our way, it's been a huge game changer. And so something I'd recommend.
Wow. Okay. That's a nice takeaway. I'm just going to go to Nicole, because I know, Nicole, you've got family and you've got the bubble, and also too now, I mean, you're back at work and, dealing with the residents there, and it's been a sad time for them too. And I mean, it takes its toll when you have to be this person that's got it all together, right?
Yeah, there's been a lot of people who have gone without visitations, but we are there has been set up for indoor visitations over the last little while, and so that's been good. But it's still without your loved ones that you would normally see on a regular basis. So it's really been a challenge for them.
Yeah.
Which is really sad. Yeah. So there's been some decline for some, and they're lonely.
Yeah.
No different than us, right? No different than us. It's just that they're in a bigger space where there's far more restrictions because of the volume of people.
Yeah. No. That's so our hearts and thoughts go out to them. Give a smile and a hug. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. We do have an indoor visitation center now, so that's a huge help.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely a different world, and as though like the elderly now are vaccinated. I kind of agree with Rana. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty, and especially thank you or no thanks, Robyn, for the news update today about this new variant that the vaccine might not even work against it. But it's all test.
It was just yesterday, and they said something about seeing that in Japan, and they weren't sure. So I didn't see much else about it. Maybe hopefully it's just some little one-off thing that they can contain.
Yeah. Because is this going to be now the next stress level? Is the vaccine? I mean, and what kind to get, or we don't have a choice.
I've had AstraZeneca. I had it 2 weeks ago because I have a major heart condition. If I get COVID, I'm basically dead. So I got, and I'm old. I'm 55. So I've had it. And me, I sit here and go, there's more chance of a blood clot on birth control. And the other thing is, we don't know everything else. The reason we know this is because everyone's reporting, I had this. So we don't report all the time when we have regular things. So I'm like, for me, it was a risk analysis. Hey, die from COVID. I felt like a Monty Python skit. Die from COVID, slow, painful, horrible death, or blood clot. Boom. Oh, I'll take blood clot. Me and a friend were doing a bit of a Monty Python skit about that, which is a bit frivolous. I know. Yep. But it's how we got through it when all this stuff started to churn. And, I think that is a stress for people. Do I take the vaccine? What's it going to do? Is it going to work? What's the risk? I'm dead if I get COVID. So, I might as well take the risk.
No, I know. Well, I guess that's, a question for a lot of people as we move forward. I was just going to go to Cynthia. There, you're sending links, and then there's something about Jaya Love.
Yeah, Jaya Love. It's one of the pieces that I've come across, and she has a free blueprint you can take. I mean, there's lots of marketing that goes with it, but if you just do it, it gives you a sense. And what I found really intriguing was that in the work that I've done with some couples is understanding why they have such disconnect between each other. And in this case, kind of in the bedroom, and really understanding that they actually have two very different styles, desires in terms of intimacy, and really what is it? And then kind of finding out the path between each of their different styles and how do they kind of find a place that they can be together. And again, it comes from a very sex positive space. So, if you're not sex positive and open-minded, then it might not be the direction to go, but it's a part of my life, and it's a part of the space that I play in. And I just found it to be a really intriguing tool, especially with couples, to do.
Okay, well, thank you. And we really haven't talked about sex a lot, have we? We just talked about
living alone. There isn't any.
Or if you're with someone for a long time, it's like, okay. So Susie, I wanted to ask you, getting back to social media. Facebook, social media. Because it was really interesting, and I think maybe I might have saw something, a comment about you did on maybe it was Twitter, on just what is the freedom of speech and how, I guess, perverse it's become on social media.
Well, I think the post that you're referring to has to do with was anti-Asian hate and sentiment that was being propagated on Twitter. And of course, I've always said that social media platforms don't really care about stopping hate on their platforms or misinformation or disinformation, because it's a one-button reporting option that they could easily employ, which they still choose not to do. And my particular comment was in response to a tweet from the governor of Arkansas, Mike Huckabee, which was appalling and racist and terrible within the same 2 weeks, 3 weeks that we've had actual violence perpetrated against Asian Americans. And so I basically said in my tweet, you can report this tweet and you'll get the same response that I will get, that you will get, that say, this doesn't go against our community standards or this and that. And the tweet had already been up for 10 hours. The tweet is still up today. So if that's not a testament to these platforms not caring about the safety of, people on their platforms and people being able to spew whatever they want. And, when you go into the reporting options, which I did actually show in a video in a following tweet, you can go and report it as directed harassment towards a targeted group, which of course Asian Americans are, and they have experienced violence. In the last week, we saw the video of the little Filipina lady in, I believe it was New York, who was horribly physically assaulted. And that video has been so traumatic to even know it's out there, never mind to watch, is just absolutely horrible. But you go and report these things and nothing is done. So I think that, we really need to understand that these platforms are not in the business of promoting safety. They're not in the business of promoting or even adhering to their own rules as far as terms of service and hate speech are concerned. All they're simply doing is they're in it to make money. And they're in it to make money and get clicks and get views at any cost. And the cost is us. The cost is society. The cost is safety. The cost is, a myriad of things that have to do with people who are powerless against these, tech giants to do anything about it.
No.
Short of regulation. So bring on the regulation.
Yeah. Well, I think, that should definitely be looked at, because I think too, obviously, and we've talked about it, it boils into mental health and wellness, right? And like we're slaves to our phones and all the information that's there at our fingertips. And yes, and we talked about thinking before we speak and everything like that is, yeah, yes. I guess, well, we're not going to solve all the world's problems on our anniversary show, but I just want to thank all of you, because it's been a definite ride, and had its definite ups and downs. But like I had mentioned before, all of your personalities have just blossomed in so many fascinating ways, and that I know that the people that listen and share and watch have learned so much through all of your stories, your opinions. And though I say this is not my opinion, but no, I'm just kidding. This is a place for everyone to speak how they feel. So I think it's pretty special that, to be in a group of such amazing women, and that will move forward, hopefully forge new roads. And I know that we'll be all together on another amazing, incredible journey. And yeah. I'm proud to say that, hey, I knew her when.
And Tracy, I think that we all want to express our thanks to you for bringing us into this opportunity, for a year and then some, but really being able to pivot into this. And of course, your crew of Graham and everybody else behind the scenes that nobody gets to see. I'm missing naming names, of course, but to everybody behind the scenes that allows this show to go on and works so hard putting this together. Huge kudos to you all for that, and for your mostly unseen work, but obviously your unseen faces, but your work doesn't go unseen. That's what I meant to say.
Oh, no.
So yeah, Tracy, and thank you so much for everything, Tracy. You have been our fearless leader and rallying coach and everything that we needed, I think, this year. So for that, we thank you and we love you.
That wasn't static. That was Graham's canned applause. But I know. Yes, and Susie, thank you again, for mentioning that, because yes, it doesn't take just one person. And it's been for Hugh, it's been an incredible journey. And I want to increase that. as whatever that looks like in the future, and continue on.
And for
Let's
all
get our
the-
human back.
And for all the organizations whose stories you've told over this past year, like Tracy, that's an incredible contribution to our online community, our real life community, our city, and that's incredible. So thank you for that, always.
Okay. Well, in that case, then you're all back for 60th anniversary. Bring cake, bring whatever you can, and bring whatever new kind of organization, new thought that comes into your mind that you want to speak and share. That's what the Hue Virtual Chat is here for. So love you all. Enjoy a beautiful Tuesday.
Yes.
And
The sun is out.
the sun
Enjoy.
is out. Yes, so enjoy and stay safe and healthy. And we'll see you next week.
Okay. Love you
Bye-bye.
guys. Bye.
Happy anniversary, y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you. Happy anniversary.
Hi,
Bye-bye.
Cynthia, our
Bye,
London
Cynthia.
correspondent. Thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome, darling.